forbidden zone. The barrier had existed for 50,000 years. It surrounded a small region of space containing a single unremarkable star and a handful of planets. Warning beacons in every known language broadcast the same message endlessly. Do not enter. Contaminated zone. Quarantine enforced by galactic authority. No one remembered why. The galactic archives contained references to an ancient threat. A species so dangerous that the founders, the original civilizations who had built galactic society, had sealed them away rather than risk extermination. The records were fragmented, corrupted. Most species assumed the threat had died out millennia ago. The barrier remained as a monument to forgotten history. Then the Vorath Imperium decided to investigate. Supreme Executor Crothval stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Wrath, studying the shimmering energy field that marked the barrier's edge. 50,000 years, he mused. Whatever was dangerous enough to quarantine has certainly died by now, and the resources within that zone could fuel our expansion for centuries. The ancient treaties prohibit entry, his advisor Velthax reminded him. The Galactic Council. The Council is weak. They cling to traditions they don't understand. The founders are extinct. Their warnings are meaningless. The energy readings from within the barrier are unusual. Our sensors detect activity. Something is alive in there. Then we'll catalog it, contain it, or destroy it. The Vorath Imperium does not fear ghosts. Crothval gestured to his fleet commander. Breach the barrier. All ships, prepare for entry. 3,000 Vorath warships approached the ancient energy field. Their weapons charged. Their shields activated. They expected resistance. The barrier simply opened. What happened? Crothval demanded. Unknown. The field parted before us. As if it was designed to let people in. But not out. We're detecting no barrier behind us, Supreme Executor. Entry was permitted without restriction. Crothval felt a flicker of unease. A prison that welcomed visitors but prevented escape? What kind of quarantine worked that way? Continue to the system. I want full scans of every planet. The fleet advanced through empty space. Hours passed, then days. The quarantine system grew larger on their sensors, and what they found defied expectations. The third planet was alive. Not just alive, thriving. Cities covered its surface. Satellites orbited in complex patterns. Ships moved between the planet and its moon. Technology signatures indicated a civilization at least as advanced as the Vorath themselves. Impossible, Velthax breathed. They should be primitive. 50,000 years of isolation. They've been developing without interference, without competition, without the resource limitations that slow other species. Crothval's eyes gleamed. This is better than expected. A fully developed civilization with technologies we've never seen. We'll take everything they have. Supreme Executor, we're being hailed. Accept the transmission. A face appeared on the view screen. Bilateral symmetry. Soft features. Two eyes that held something Crothval couldn't quite identify. Visitors, the creature said. It's been a very long time since anyone came through the barrier. We wondered if you'd forgotten about us entirely. I am Supreme Executor Crothval of the Vorath Imperium. You are addressing the commander of the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Identify yourself. I'm Admiral Yuki Tanaka of the Earth Defense Force. And with respect, Supreme Executor, you have no idea what you've just walked into. Is that a threat? It's a statement of fact. The barrier wasn't built to keep you out. It was built to keep us in. The human smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. And now you're in here with us. The transmission ended. Scan their planet, Crothval ordered. I want to know everything about their military capabilities. The scans came back impossible. Ships, thousands of ships, hidden in orbital stations beneath planetary surfaces, in hollowed-out asteroids throughout the system. Each one larger and more powerful than anything in the Vorath fleet. Supreme Executor, they have approximately 40,000 vessels. Many of them exceed our largest dreadnoughts in size. How How could a quarantined species build? They've had 50,000 years, sir. 50,000 years to develop without external threats, without resource competition, without anything to slow them down. Crothval stared at the tactical display. His 3,000 ships suddenly seemed very small. We need to leave. Now. Signal all vessels. Supreme Executor, the barrier has reactivated behind us. We cannot exit the quarantine zone. The human admiral's face reappeared on every screen in the fleet. I told you, the barrier keeps us in. It also keeps our visitors in. You're welcome to try to leave, but I'd recommend against it. Those who enter the quarantine zone tend to stay. What do you want? Want? We don't want anything from you. Admiral Tanaka's smile widened. But we do have questions. 50,000 years of questions. And you're going to answer every single one of them. The forgotten history. Supreme Executor Crothval had no choice but to accept the human invitation. His fleet was trapped. His weapons were useless against the overwhelming force surrounding him. His only option was to learn what he faced and find a way to escape. Admiral Tanaka met him aboard a human station orbiting Earth. The structure was enormous, larger than any space station Crothval had ever seen. Its corridors stretched for miles. Its population numbered in the millions. Welcome to Citadel Prime, Tanaka said. Our primary orbital habitat, one of 300 currently in operation. 300 stations of this size? We've had time to build. A lot of time. The Admiral led Crothval through corridors that hummed with activity. Humans moved with purpose and discipline. Technology he couldn't identify lined every wall. You have questions, Tanaka continued. So do we. Perhaps we can exchange information. I want to know why you were quarantined. What crime did your species commit? Tanaka laughed. Crime? We didn't commit any crime. We were quarantined because we won. Won what? The First Galactic War. 50,000 years ago, there were dozens of major civilizations. They discovered Earth during their expansion. They decided we were a threat and attacked us. They attacked you? Preemptively. They saw something in humanity that frightened them. Our adaptability, our aggression, our refusal to submit. Tanaka's voice carried ancient pride. So they sent fleets to destroy us. Hundreds of thousands of ships. The largest military operation in galactic history. And we destroyed them. All of them. Then we destroyed their homeworlds. Then we destroyed every military installation, every shipyard, every colony that had supported the attack. Crothval stopped walking. You expect me to believe that a primitive species defeated the founders? We weren't primitive. We were young. There's a difference. Tanaka turned to face him. The founders made a mistake that every species makes about humanity. They assumed that because we were new, we were weak. They didn't understand that new also means hungry, adaptable, willing to do things that older species have forgotten how to do. What happened after your victory? The surviving founders were terrified. They couldn't defeat us militarily, but they couldn't live with the threat we represented. So they proposed a compromise. They would build the barrier. We would remain inside it. In exchange, they would leave us alone. You accepted quarantine? We accepted peace. We had proven our point. We had no interest in conquering the galaxy. We just wanted to be left alone. The barrier gave us that. Tanaka resumed walking. What we didn't expect was that the founders would die out. That their civilization would collapse within a few millennia. That the species that replaced them would forget why the barrier existed. Forget. The records were deliberately destroyed. The founders were ashamed of their defeat. They didn't want future generations knowing that they had been humiliated by a young species. So they erased the history, left only warnings that made no sense without context. They reached an observation deck overlooking Earth. The blue planet hung in space, beautiful and serene. For 50,000 years we've been in here, building, growing, advancing. We've developed technologies the galaxy can't imagine. We've created a civilization that could challenge any power in existence. But you've stayed behind the barrier. Because we gave our word. Humanity honors its commitments. Tanaka's voice hardened. But now you've entered our space. You've brought the outside galaxy to us. And that creates a problem. What problem? We can't let you leave with knowledge of what we've become. The galaxy isn't ready for that information. They'd panic. They'd attack. They'd make the same mistake the founders made. You're going to kill us? We're going to give you a choice. Tanaka gestured at the view screen showing Krothval's fleet. You can try to fight. You'll lose, obviously, but you can die with honor if that matters to you. Or you can stay. Become part of our civilization. Learn what we've learned. Join us in whatever comes next. Whatever comes next? We've been watching the galaxy through the barrier sensors. We've seen your wars, your conflicts, your struggles, and we've seen what's coming. What's coming? Tanaka's expression grew grave. Something worse than anything you've faced. Something that makes 50,000 years of preparation seem barely adequate. Something that will require the entire galaxy to face together. And you expect us to trust you? After admitting you destroyed the founders. I expect you to be intelligent enough to recognize when you have no alternatives. Tanaka smiled coldly. The Vorath Imperium is powerful by galactic standards. By our standards, you're a minor regional power. We could destroy your fleet in minutes. Instead, we're offering you knowledge. Survival. A chance to matter in what's coming. Why? Because we're going to need allies. What's approaching doesn't care about old grudges or galactic politics. It just consumes. And unless the galaxy unites against it, nothing survives. The coming storm. Supreme Executor Krothval remained aboard Citadel Prime as a guest, while his fleet was escorted to holding areas. The humans treated him with courtesy but made their power clear. Every interaction reminded him that he was among gods who had chosen not to destroy him. It was humbling in ways his pride struggled to accept. Admiral Tanaka continued her explanations over the following days. We call them the Devourers, she said, displaying images that made Krothval's blood run cold. They're not a species in any conventional sense. They're a force, a hunger given form. The images showed something vast moving through space. Not ships, organisms. Living things the size of moons, flowing through the void like predators through dark water. Behind them, nothing remained. Stars dimmed. Planets crumbled. Space itself seemed wounded by their passage. They emerged from somewhere outside our galaxy approximately 10,000 years ago. They've been consuming their way toward the galactic core ever since. Why haven't we detected them? Because they're still in the outer reaches. The regions between spiral arms where few species travel. But they're accelerating. Our projections show them reaching populated space within the next 50 years. 50 years. Which is why your arrival is both a problem and an opportunity. Tanaka changed the display to show galactic maps. The quarantine kept us isolated, but it also prevented us from warning anyone. We've been preparing alone, building forces we hoped would be enough. Are they enough? Honestly, we don't know. The Devourers have consumed civilizations that made the founders look primitive. They've destroyed forces that should have been overwhelming. Nothing has ever stopped them permanently. Then what hope is there? Hope lies in what we've observed. The Devourers can be hurt. They can be slowed. Individual organisms can be destroyed. What no one has ever managed is destroying them completely, but no one has ever hit them with everything the galaxy could muster. You want to unite the galaxy against them. We want to survive. If that requires unity, then yes. Tanaka's eyes were hard. The question is whether the galaxy will unite willingly or whether we'll have to encourage them. Encourage them how? We've spent 50,000 years preparing for threats. We've developed weapons, strategies, technologies that no one else possesses. We could share those freely with a cooperative galaxy. Or we could force compliance from a resistant one. That sounds like conquest. It sounds like survival. The Devourers don't negotiate. They don't make treaties. They consume everything. If the galaxy doesn't work together, everyone dies. We'd rather achieve unity through cooperation, but we'll achieve it through force if necessary. Hrothval considered this carefully. The Vorath Imperium had built its power through conquest. He understood the logic Tanaka was presenting. It was the same logic he had used himself, dressed in different language. What do you want from me? You're going to return to the galaxy. You're going to tell them what you've learned. About us. About the Devourers. About the choice they face. They won't believe me. They'll believe the evidence we're going to send with you. Recordings. Data. Samples of Devourer organisms we've captured. Tanaka leaned forward. And they'll believe because we're going to demonstrate our capabilities in a way that cannot be denied. How? The barrier is going to open. Not just a gap like the one you entered through, the whole thing. Humanity is ending our quarantine. We're rejoining the galaxy whether it's ready for us or not. That will cause panic. It will cause attention, which is exactly what we need. Tanaka stood and walked to the viewport. For 50,000 years, we've been the galaxy's forgotten nightmare. The species sealed away for reasons no one remembers. Now they're going to remember. They're going to remember that we won the first galactic war. They're going to remember that we destroyed the founders. They're going to remember that humanity is the most dangerous species this galaxy has ever produced. And then they're going to realize that the most dangerous species is on their side. That the monsters in the quarantine zone are willing to fight for them. That the thing they've feared for 50 millennia is now their only hope for survival. Tanaka turned back to face him. You're going to be our messenger, supreme executor. You're going to tell the galaxy that the humans are awake. That we're coming out. And that they should be very, very glad we're on their side. The opening. The barrier fell 3 months after Hrothval's arrival. It didn't collapse gradually or fade slowly. One moment, the ancient energy field existed as it had for 50,000 years. The next moment, it was gone. Warning beacons that had broadcast for millennia went silent. The quarantine was over. The galaxy's reaction was immediate and chaotic. Sensor stations across known space detected the barrier's failure. Military forces scrambled to assess the threat. Political leaders demanded explanations that no one could provide. Fear spread faster than any fleet could travel. And then the human ships appeared. They emerged from the former quarantine zone in formations that stretched across light years. 40,000 vessels, each one more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. They moved with precision that suggested unified command and total confidence. Admiral Tanaka broadcast on every frequency simultaneously. To all species of the Milky Way galaxy, I am Admiral Yuki Tanaka of the Earth Defense Force. Humanity is ending its voluntary quarantine and rejoining galactic civilization. The transmission included images, data, proof of everything Hrothval had been sent to convey. 50,000 years ago, we were sealed behind the barrier after winning the First Galactic War. We accepted isolation in exchange for peace. We honored that agreement while you forgot why it existed. Now we face a common threat. The Devourers approach from beyond the galactic rim. They have consumed countless civilizations. They will reach populated space within decades. No single power, not even humanity, can face them alone. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to dominate. We are here to help you survive what's coming. But make no mistake, we will survive. The only question is whether you survive with us. Representatives from all major powers are invited to meet at coordinates being transmitted now. We will share intelligence on the Devourers. We will offer technologies to strengthen your defenses. We will work together if you choose cooperation. If you choose resistance, we will demonstrate why that choice is unwise. You have 30 days to respond. The galactic response was divided. Some powers, terrified by both the Devourers and the humans, immediately accepted the invitation. They had studied the ancient records, fragmented as they were. They understood that humanity had defeated the founders themselves. Opposition seemed suicidal. Others resisted. The Kathrani Collective, the Methali Empire, the Draxian Federation, ancient powers who had dominated galactic politics for millennia. They saw humanity's emergence as a threat to their authority. They began assembling fleets for defense. And some simply waited. watching, assessing, trying to determine which side would win. Supreme Executor Crothval returned to Vorath space as humanity's unlikely ambassador. You expect us to believe this? The Vorath High Council demanded. A species emerges from a forgotten quarantine zone claiming to be our salvation? This could be an elaborate deception. It's not a deception. I've seen their capabilities. I've studied their history. I've witnessed technologies that make our most advanced weapons look primitive. Crothval displayed recordings from his time among the humans. They could destroy us. They could destroy any power in the galaxy. Instead, they're offering alliance. Why should we trust them? Because the alternative is extinction. The Devourers are real. I've seen the evidence. Something is coming that makes humanity look benevolent by comparison. The debate raged for days. Finally, pragmatism won over pride. The Vorath Imperium agreed to send representatives to the Human Summit. Not all powers made the same choice. The Kathrani Collective dispatched a war fleet to confront the human forces. 3,000 ships, the largest military deployment in Kathrani history, moved to intercept the nearest human formation. Admiral Tanaka responded personally. Collective command, you are approaching human vessels with hostile intent. This is not advised. You will withdraw from our territory, the Kathrani Supreme Commander replied. Your presence is not welcome. Your threats are not credible. The collective does not bow to newly emerged primitives. We're not primitives. We're not newly emerged. And we're not threatening, we're warning. Tanaka's voice carried no emotion. You have 1 hour to reverse course. After that, we demonstrate why the founders built the barrier. Empty words. Attack. The Kathrani fleet opened fire. The human ships didn't even bother raising shields. Weapons fire splashed against their hulls without effect. Missiles detonated harmlessly. The most powerful armaments the Kathrani possessed proved utterly ineffective against human defenses. Your turn, Tanaka said. A single human vessel fired once. The beam struck the Kathrani flagship. The vessel didn't explode, it simply ceased to exist. Matter conversion at levels that defied physics. 300,000 Kathrani, erased from reality in an instant. Any questions? Tanaka asked. The remaining Kathrani ships fled. The Galactic Summit convened aboard Citadel Prime. Representatives from 87 species gathered in chambers designed to accommodate diverse physiologies. Atmospheric zones separated oxygen breathers from methane breathers from beings who required no atmosphere at all. Admiral Tanaka addressed the assembly. Thank you for coming. I understand many of you are here reluctantly. Some of you fear us. Some of you hate us. Some of you simply don't believe what we've told you. I'm not going to spend time convincing you to trust humanity. Trust requires years to build, and we don't have years. What we have is evidence. The chamber's displays activated, showing comprehensive data about the Devourers. These organisms have consumed approximately 17% of the galaxy's outer regions. They move slowly from our perspective, but they never stop. They never retreat. They never negotiate. Images of destroyed worlds appeared. Civilizations that had fought. Civilizations that had fled. Civilizations that had surrendered. All of them gone. Every species that has faced the Devourers alone has been destroyed. Every alliance that has formed against them has failed. They adapt to every weapon, overcome every defense, consume every resource. Why should this time be different? The Methali representative demanded. If nothing has stopped them, what makes humanity think it can? Because we've had 50,000 years to prepare. Because we've developed technologies specifically designed to counter their adaptations. Because we've studied every failed defense and learned from every mistake. Tanaka changed the display to show human weapons in action. Our dimensional destabilizers can destroy devourer organisms by collapsing the space they occupy. Our containment fields can isolate and neutralize their reproductive capabilities. Our fleet can engage them at ranges they cannot match. And most importantly, we understand something that previous defenders didn't. The Devourers are not invincible. They're not supernatural. They're organisms, incredibly dangerous organisms, but organisms nonetheless. They can be hurt. They can be killed. They can be defeated. But not by humanity alone. Even our forces are insufficient against their full numbers. We need the galaxy's combined military strength. We need your resources, your soldiers, your industrial capacity. We need unity. You're asking us to place our fleets under human command, the Draxian representative said. To trust our survival to a species we've feared for 50 millennia. I'm asking you to choose survival over pride. I'm asking you to recognize that individual species cannot face this threat. I'm asking you to become something the galaxy has never been, truly united. And if we refuse, then you die alone, one species at a time. While humanity watches from behind defenses even the devourers cannot breach. Silence fell across the chamber. You're saying you could survive without us? The Vorath representative, Krothval himself, said slowly. We could. Our technology is sufficient to protect Earth and our immediate territories. The devourers would consume the galaxy around us, but they would break against our defenses. Then why involve us at all? Because surviving isn't enough. Tanaka's voice softened slightly. We've spent 50,000 years isolated. 50,000 years building weapons and preparing for threats. 50,000 years alone. We're tired of being alone. We want to be part of something larger. We want connections beyond our quarantine. We want to matter to species other than ourselves. And we want the devourers destroyed. Not held back. Not contained. Destroyed. So that no species ever faces this threat again. That requires more than defense. It requires offense. It requires hunting them to their source and eliminating them completely. And that requires resources beyond what even humanity possesses. The Methali representative leaned forward. You want to attack the devourers? Invade their territory? That's never been attempted. Because no one had the technology to try. We do. But we need the numbers. The industrial capacity. The soldiers willing to fight on a scale that would make the First Galactic War look trivial. You're asking for total war. I'm asking for total survival. There's a difference. Tanaka stood straighter. The devourers will reach populated space within 50 years regardless of what we decide here. You can face them divided and die separately. Or you can face them united and possibly win. The choice is yours. But choose quickly. We don't have 50 years to debate. The summit lasted 3 weeks. In the end, 61 species agreed to join the alliance. 26 declined and retreated to fortify their own territories. The galaxy was divided, but the larger portion had chosen cooperation. It would have to be enough. The Devourer War began 15 years after the summit. Advanced scouts from the main swarm reached inhabited systems earlier than projected. Whether they had accelerated or humanity's estimates had been wrong, the result was the same. War came before the alliance was fully prepared. Admiral Tanaka commanded the combined fleet from the new flagship Retribution. All ships, this is Admiral Tanaka. Today we engage the Devourers for the first time as a unified force. Today we demonstrate what the galaxy can accomplish when it works together. You've trained for this. You've prepared for this. Now show these monsters that this galaxy will not be consumed. For Earth. For your homeworlds. For every species that ever looked at the stars and dreamed of a future. Attack! 300,000 ships from 61 species surged forward. The Devourer vanguard numbered in the millions, individual organisms ranging from the size of fighters to the size of moons. They moved without formation, without apparent strategy, simply flowing toward the nearest concentration of life. Human technology made the first difference. Dimensional destabilizers fired in coordinated patterns, creating zones of collapsed space that the Devourers couldn't enter. Containment fields isolated clusters of organisms, preventing them from reproducing during battle. Human shields absorbed attacks that would have destroyed any other vessel. But human ships couldn't be everywhere. Vorath dreadnoughts fell to swarm attacks. Methali carriers were overwhelmed by smaller organisms that breached their hulls. Draxian fighters died by the thousands, buying time for larger vessels to maneuver. The losses were staggering, but the line held. Admiral, we're achieving local superiority in sectors 7 through 12. Devourer organisms are being pushed back. Maintain pressure. Don't give them time to adapt. New contacts emerging from the swarm's rear. Much larger signatures. We're reading, Admiral, these organisms are the size of planets. The devourer capital organisms appeared. They were vast beyond comprehension. Living worlds that had consumed civilizations and incorporated their mass. Each one was a weapon, a factory, and a habitat combined. Each one commanded billions of smaller organisms. And there were dozens of them. Concentrate all dimensional destabilizers on the capital organisms. Everything we have. Admiral, that will leave our flanks exposed. If we don't destroy the capitals, our flanks won't matter. Fire! Human weapons lashed out at the planet-sized horrors. Dimensional destabilizers tore chunks from their flesh. Containment fields prevented them from regenerating. For the first time in recorded history, devourer capital organisms were wounded. But they didn't die easily. The battle raged for days. Ships were destroyed by the hundreds. Species that had joined the alliance saw their fleets reduced to fragments. The combined military might of 61 civilizations was being ground down against an enemy that felt no pain and knew no fear. And then something unexpected happened. Deep within the devourer swarm, something stirred. The organisms began behaving erratically. Their coordination faltered. The seamless unity that made them so dangerous started to break down. Admiral, we're detecting anomalous patterns in the swarm. They're fighting each other. Show me. The tactical display confirmed it. Devourer organisms were attacking their own kind. Capital organisms were being swarmed by creatures that should have been under their control. The enemy was tearing itself apart. What did we do? I don't know. But we need to exploit it. All ships, full attack. Hit them while they're distracted. The alliance surged forward. Disoriented devourers fell by the millions. Capital organisms, already wounded, succumbed to combined assault. The tide of battle shifted dramatically. When the fighting ended, the devourer vanguard had been annihilated. Analysis of the aftermath revealed the truth. Human containment fields had done more than prevent reproduction. They had disrupted the devourer's communication networks. Without coordination, the organisms reverted to their most basic programming: competition for resources. They had consumed each other. We found their weakness, Tanaka reported to the Alliance. They're a hive mind. Disrupt their communication, and they become their own worst enemy. Can we replicate this effect on a larger scale? We're already working on it. If we can generate containment fields powerful enough to affect entire regions of space, we can turn every devourer engagement into a civil war. The swarm's main body is still approaching. Trillions of organisms. Hundreds of capital entities. Then we'll need bigger fields. Tanaka's jaw set with determination. And we'll need to hit them at their source. Find where they came from. Destroy whatever spawned them. You're talking about invading extragalactic space. I'm talking about ending this permanently. No more running. No more defending. We take the fight to them. The source. The expedition to find the Devourer's origin launched 2 years after the Vanguard's defeat. 100,000 ships, the largest fleet ever assembled, traveled beyond the galaxy's edge into the void between stars. They followed the trail of consumption backward, through regions stripped of matter, toward something that sensors could barely detect. Admiral Tanaka commanded from the Retribution, now battle-scarred but still formidable. We've traveled farther from home than any species in galactic history. What we find at the end of this journey will determine the future of all life in the universe. Supreme Executor Crothval, now serving as the Alliance's Vorath representative, stood beside her on the bridge. You've changed since we first met. Harder. More determined. War does that. Tanaka didn't take her eyes from the view screen. I've watched millions die. I've ordered attacks knowing ships wouldn't survive. I've sacrificed people who trusted me. Regrets. Countless. But I'd make the same choices again. That's what command means. The fleet reached the Devourer's origin point after 6 months of travel. What they found defied comprehension. A structure floated in the absolute darkness between galaxies. Not organic, not technological, something that existed at the intersection of both. A construct the size of a solar system, pulsing with energies that made sensors scream warnings. What is that? Krothval breathed. The source, the factory, whatever creates the Devourers. Tanaka studied the readings. It's been here for millions of years, maybe longer, spawning horrors and sending them to consume galaxies. Who built it? Does it matter? They're long gone. All that matters now is destroying it. The fleet approached cautiously. Defensive organisms emerged from the structure, millions of them, but the Alliance was prepared. Containment fields activated across the formation, disrupting Devourer coordination before the battle even began. All ships, attack pattern Omega. Target the structure's power signatures. Dimensional destabilizers at maximum output. The combined fleet unleashed everything it had. Beams of collapsed space struck the structure's surface. Missiles carrying containment generators detonated against its shell. The combined firepower of 100,000 ships concentrated on a single target. The structure began to die. Its defenses faltered. Its spawning mechanisms failed. The organisms it had created turned on each other and on the structure itself, consuming the thing that had created them. Admiral, we're detecting massive energy buildups throughout the structure. It's going critical. All ships, emergency withdrawal. Maximum speed. The fleet fled as the structure collapsed. The explosion was visible across galaxies. A flash of light that would be detected by observers for millions of years, marking the moment when the Devourer's source was destroyed. When the light faded, nothing remained. Confirmed, the tactical officer reported. The structure is completely gone. All spawning activity has ceased throughout our sensor range. The remaining Devourers? Without the structure directing them, they're consuming each other. Our containment technology is accelerating the process. Projections suggest complete elimination within decades. Tanaka allowed herself to breathe. It's over. The war is over, Krothval agreed. But what comes next? Next we go home. We rebuild. We mourn our dead. We celebrate our survival. Tanaka turned to face the alien who had become an unlikely ally. And then we figure out what kind of galaxy we want to build. A galaxy led by humanity? A galaxy where humanity has a place. That's all we ever wanted. Tanaka smiled slightly. We were quarantined for a reason. We were dangerous. We still are. But we're also the species that ended the Devourer threat. That has to count for something. It counts for everything. My people will follow humanity willingly now, as will most others. We don't want followers. We want partners. The galaxy united against the Devourers. Let's stay united for something better. Building instead of destroying. Creating instead of consuming. You think that's possible? I think humanity has proven that anything is possible. We rose from nothing to defeat the founders. We survived 50,000 years of isolation. We led a galaxy against an existential threat and won. Tanaka looked out at the stars, the distant spiral of their home galaxy, waiting for their return. We were quarantined for a reason. Now the universe remembers why. Not because we're dangerous, though we are, but because when the danger comes, we're exactly what the universe needs. Let's go home. We have a galaxy to rebuild. The fleet turned toward home. Behind them, the darkness between galaxies remained empty for the first time in millions of years. Ahead, a future waited that no one had dared to imagine. Humanity had been imprisoned for 50,000 years. Now they were free, and they were just getting started.